From the humble abode of the Breeze home to the opulent design of Proudspire Manor, today we're going to be looking at all the homes in Skyrim to determine which are the homes of our dreams and which are so bad that even House Flipper 2 players won't go near them. To spice things up a bit, we're also going to include every house added from the Anniversary Edition. So, expect to see professional designers from Bethesda get absolutely shamed by modders who make Skyrim homes as a hobby. Let's get into it. Dead Man's Dread. In saying what I just said, it's now kind of awkward that I have to put Dead Man's Dread at the bottom of this list. This Anniversary Edition had so much going for it. Dead Man's Dread starts with an awesome questline to acquire it. Unique weapons and armor can be found that fit the swashbuckling aesthetic. And you get a damn pirate ship as a player home at the end of it. So, where does it all go wrong? Well, just like real life, it comes down to three: location, location, and location. On its own, the Dead Man's Dread is spacious and unique, and who doesn't want to call the ocean their home? The problem is that you won't be calling the ocean your home. Instead, the Dead Man's Dread is permanently stuck inside a dank cave, which leaves the place looking run down, abandoned, and kind of hard to see with the lack of lighting. Even worse is the fact that you'll have to go through 3 whole loading screens just to get to the damn place. I didn't know I was playing Starfield. It would have been much higher on the list if the ship could have been moved to sea, maybe even giving us the ability to move the ship to various anchor spots around Skyrim. But as it stands, the Dead Man's Dread feels more like a place to squat than a place to call home. Gallows Hall. If you thought Dead Man's Dread felt unhomely, wait till you see Gallows Hall. The look, music, and lighting of this place make it easily the least inviting home on this list. On top of its unpleasant aesthetic, Gallows Hall is just a bit too generic and feels more like a cleared dungeon that I decided to hoard my goods in rather than a fleshed-out player home. The only thing Gallows Hall has going for it is the Bone Forge. This one-of-a-kind forge can be used to process bone meal and soul gems to make permanent skeletal followers, which is an admittedly awesome addition for anyone wanting to dabble in necromancy. But beyond that, I'd look for a player home with greener and less creepy pastures. Severin Manor. It's honestly a shame that Severin Manor has to go so low on this list. It's the only player home that really feels different architecturally from the Nordic and Imperial structures we see so often. It's also sprawling, with a forge, an incredible weapon rack room, plenty of storage space, and a master bedroom fit for a Dunmer king. But despite all these pros, Severin Manor just doesn't cut the other player homes. Despite its unapologetically Dunmer aesthetic, Severin Manor still looks bland by Solstheim standards. The lack of windows, range of colors, and low ceilings all make it seem as if you're living in a cave. Even worse is how non-functional it is at being a player home. Spouses and children can't live there, and it's on another damn island, making it the most out-of-the-way home on this list. Overall, Severin Manor may be a nice place to get away from all the chaos during the Dragonborn questline, but beyond that, it serves almost no purpose that other homes can't do better. Honeyside. Might just be the buggiest building I've ever called home. I'm not sure if this is a common issue or if my save file was cursed by Daedra, but Honeyside is riddled with bugs that cause all the clutter to be violently flung about, its mannequins also creepily move from place to place, and my items just go missing. Fun. But even despite that, Honeyside would still be one of the worst homes on this list. Although it's cool that you enter the home directly from Skyrim rather than Riften, Honeyside doesn't have much else going for it. It's probably the worst designed home on this list, with the awkwardly placed rooms and crafting tables giving off the impression that the house is having an identity crisis. It doesn't know if it wants to have a cozy cottage aesthetic or something more utilitarian, which makes the entire experience of living in this feel like you're role-playing as a canned sardine. I'd rather not be eaten by Argonians today. Nachantums. The Dwemer are almost as good with their technology as they are with making up completely unpronounceable words. Case in point, we have Nachantums, a player home that takes place entirely within a dwarven dungeon. Like many other Anniversary Edition homes, unlocking this place is not so much a matter of paying with your wallet, but by risking your life and going through a somewhat underwhelming quest. Upon first arrival, the Chantums is in complete ruin. But with some elbow grease and the help of a friendly dwarven sphere, you can slowly rebuild the place back to its former glory. Nechantum's had a lot of potential, but for everything it does well, it does another thing poorly. The house is huge, the largest in the entire game, but that's often a curse rather than a blessing. Get ready to walk across the length of a small town just to reach a crafting station. It might have a lot of cool features, like a bathhouse and a throne room, but it's also dark, like really, really dark, often to the point where you forget that you're in a player home, not some secret dungeon. And let me tell you, there's nothing sadder than sitting on the throne of this place and staring at the dark, empty hallway in front of you. Overall, turning a dungeon like setting into a player home is a good idea in theory, but in practice, the results are pretty underwhelming. Breeze Home. Breeze Home is objectively the worst house in the game. It's small, cramped, and has little in the way of luxuries and amenities. That being said, it's also one of the most iconic interiors in the entire game. Buying this run-down glorified shack for the first time was a monumental feat on our original playthroughs. It almost felt like being a real homeowner, minus the constant maintenance, having to comply with HOA, and being mortgaged to your eyeballs. But a rose-tinted view isn't the only thing Breeze Home has going for it. Despite its shortcomings, the house is still situated in a central location, both in the world map and the city it resides in. It's very affordable and has a modest atmosphere that most of the other homes in the game miss. It might not hold a candle to other homes on this list, but at least it's not a damn derelict ship in a cave. Shadowfoot Sanctum. Shadowfoot Sanctum is an amazing player home. That's not because of its large size and easy accessibility, but the exact opposite. It's a cramped and hidden home that was never intended to be a main player house, but rather a secret bunker to keep all your prized and dangerous possessions. Despite being built underneath the seedier city north of Bravil, Shadowfoot Sanctum is one of the coziest places in the game. This is in no small part thanks to how hidden this place is. To get there, you either have to make your way through several doors across the Ratway or access the place via the secret underwater entrance. So, if I'm glazing over this place too much, why is it so low on the list? Well, its pros are also its cons. While it being a super secret thief bunker is awesome from a roleplay perspective, functionally, the place isn't the greatest. It has a laughably tiny amount of storage space, the lack of any natural light sucks for anyone claustrophobic, and don't get me started on all the loading screens you have to go through just to get here. It's a shame too, because I would have enjoyed having a private abode if it weren't so damn tedious. Thankfully, our partners at NordVPN have at least made staying private in real life much easier. The last thing we want is some Thalmor spy looking into what animation mods we've been browsing. But by going to nordvpn.com/falldamage, you'll be a few clicks away from making sure that nobody, not even NordVPN, can track your online activity risk-free. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Malware, phishing, and fake shopping detection come standard with this service. To top it all off, NordVPN continually monitor the dark web to see if your information has been leaked on the nefarious side of the internet. With such a robust feature list, NordVPN acts as a protective layer over all your internet activity. Even the most skilled thieves in Tamriel would whimper at the thought of trying to break through something with such a strong set of security measures. Getting the service through nordvpn.com/falldamage will not only support the channel, it'll also give you a bonus of 4 months on top of a 2-year plan, just further adding to the value. The best thing about this is it's all risk-free. If, for whatever reason, you're not satisfied with the service, Nord has a 30-day money-back guarantee. So, what are you waiting for? Go to nordvpn.com/falldamage today. And make sure you're in control of your data and who you give it to. Now, back to the video. Proudspire Manor. Proudspire Manor had the potential to easily clear this list's top 3. It looks gorgeous from the inside and out, it's wonderfully designed with luxurious-looking architecture and furniture, and it even has a damn balcony. It's my favorite place to keep the family and scatter the shelves with valuable gemstones. However, that's about the extent of this manor's pros. The main issue with Proudspire Manor is that it insists on being the most inconvenient house in the game. Not only is it a damn hike to get to, but when you arrive there, you can't even have the amenities you'd expect. There's hardly anywhere to store your weapons and armor, no cooking pots, and very few crafting stations. And don't get me started on the guest room. I've slept in prison cells that are more accommodating than this. All these may come off as minor issues to some, but when you're paying upwards of 36,000 gold for a damn house, you'd expect it to at least be more functional than the Breeze home, and it can't even do that. Disappointing is all I can say about Proudspire Manor. Skyrim. Skyrim has without a doubt the best looking exterior in the game. With its imposing Norse architecture and rugged design, Skyrim gives off the impression of a palace or fortress, more so than a player's home. But the interior, at least for me, is another story. It's not without its advantages. The place is extremely spacious, all room types can be unlocked at once, and having a full-size kitchen is just awesome. That being said, Skyrim always felt a little too big for its own good. The spaciousness is nice, but it also makes most of the ground floor look empty and unfinished. It also doesn't help that it used to be the home of a serial killer, which makes the whole place have a constant aura of unease, no matter how many cute candies and soothing music Bethesda tries to throw at the place. Overall, it's a nice house, and I can see why it tops people's lists, but for me, Skyrim is far from perfect. Vlindrel Hall. Vlindrel Hall has one of the best interiors matched with absolutely the worst exterior in the vanilla game. As soon as you buy this place and go to your new home, you'll ask yourself, is this it? When you see that the entrance is nothing more than a door carved into a cave. This may fit the architecture of the Dwemer, who had a habit of hiding their grand constructions behind or underneath unassuming landscapes, but this looks a little too unassuming. I mean, it's literally just a big metal door carved into the mountain. And don't even get me started on the lack of windows. The Reach is one of the most spectacular regions in Skyrim, and the architects behind this place didn't even bother to place a single view out into the Rocky Mountains. Thankfully, the home's interior largely makes up for its shortcomings. Awesome is the only adjective that can be used to describe Vlindrel Hall's interior design. A sense of grandeur unlike that of any other vanilla house is felt when walking through the halls of Vlindrel Hall, with its stone and metal architecture. It may not be the best home in Skyrim, but it's certainly up there. I'd go so far as to say it's underrated. Mirewatch. Mirewatch is essentially a better Shadowfoot sanctum. It's easier to access, has a more convenient design, and best of all, it's absolutely free and easy to obtain. Getting the place is simply a matter of defeating a Kaurus and shooting magic at a seal. After that, Mirewatch is yours. This home feels like the Archmage's quarters on steroids. Not only does this tower have plenty of storage space and a beautiful look and feel, it also has many features that are unique to this home. These include the portal to another room, fertile soil to plant ingredients, and it even comes equipped with a staff enchanter, so you no longer need to go halfway to Morrowind and climb a mushroom to use this crafting station. At this point, Mirewatch is an essential player home for the early game. The only reason it's not higher on this list is because it kind of makes it a point to be utilitarian rather than allowing for any role-playing to take place. While the bottom levels technically have room for your spouse and children, I can't imagine it'd be all that great living in a glorified vault. The home is also not too far from Frostfall Lighthouse, which kind of sullies the romantic fantasy of living in a tower in the middle of the tundra. Nevertheless, there's no reason not to get this house. Lakeview Manor. And now, we move on to the Hearthfire homes. These are basically like regular homes, except better in virtually every single way, minus the tedium of actually building them. The worst of these homes is surprisingly Lakeview Manor. Don't get me wrong, it's easily the most beautiful of the Hearthfire home plots, with its lush forests and titular lake view. Just ignore the Necromancer's shrine off in the distance. But besides its beauty, Lakeview Manor doesn't have much else going for it. It's not in the most convenient of locations, and actually looks kind of weird to have a mansion in the middle of the forest. I can only imagine the flies and mosquitoes during the summer. Worst of all, the aviary this place comes with is completely useless. Just get a greenhouse wing and you can use that to harvest more honey, along with a plethora of other ingredients. So, while Lakeview Manor is a fantastic house on the interior and beautiful on its exterior, it leaves little to be desired in the utility department. Winstead Manor. Moving on to the complete opposite direction, both literally and figuratively, we have Winstead Manor. Easily the ugliest home plot, Winstead Manor is built on a dank and sad marshland that's also situated in one of the more hostile areas in the game, leaving a lot to be desired in the cozy living department. Thankfully, the home mostly makes up for this with its fish hatchery, an extremely useful deposit that makes collecting fish-related ingredients for alchemy a breeze. But beyond that, Winstead Manor could only ever be the perfect home for those doing an evil playthrough. Good Samaritan types, like you and me, should steer far and clear of this location. Heljarken Hall. Heljarken Hall may have the same interior as other homes, but it tops this list because its exterior is at least a good middle ground of form and function. The plot lets you build a grain mill, which is either the best or worst addition to a home plot, depending on how much you like baking. But even beyond that, Heljarken Hall is at a central point of the map and close to a road, making it actually logical to build it there from a role-playing perspective. Overall, Heljarken Hall might not have a hatchery or lush forest views, but it makes sense, and with how pedantic for immersion Skyrim fans are, what more could you want? Hendraheim. Hendraheim is one of the largest homes in the game, which is even more impressive given that it's mostly one room. This warrior's home is located in the Reach and has an impressive array of weapon racks, crafting tables, and display areas. What's more interesting is the basement level, which is a glorified trophy room that has specific display spots for all the unique weapons in the game, along with displays for the Dragon Priest masks and bugs in a jar that seem to come standard with the Anniversary Edition homes. The entire place is very impressive and kind of puts your Vaska to shame with its grandeur. However, Hendraheim isn't perfect, even for a warrior. There's nowhere to farm, many of the weapon racks are shrouded in darkness, and it's pretty out of the way, making it a chore not worth the effort for those playing the game in survival mode. That being said, Hendraheim is still one of the biggest and most impressive homes in the game, and the fact that you can have it all in exchange for sacrificing a fellow warrior makes it all the better. Bloodchill Manor. Remember when I said the Winstead Manor could be perfect for an evil playthrough? Well, that place is a home fit for a skoomed-up necromancer in comparison to Bloodchill Manor. Acquiring the manor is a little more interesting than most others on this list. Instead of running into this place on your travels or simply buying it from a steward, Bloodchill Manor is acquired via a letter from the previous owner, inviting you to a dinner party at your soon-to-be home. While the host is too dead to make it themselves, they did invite all of their friends, who in some way wronged the previous owner in their previous life. Should you survive the ambush of gargoyles and eliminate the surviving partygoers, Bloodchill Manor will be yours. We've seen a lot of homes call themselves manors in the past, but Bloodchill is the only one that's deserving of that title. It's easily the most unique home on this list, with its unapologetically gothic theme that looks like something straight out of Skingrad. The home is littered with crimson carpets, curtains, and tapestries that should make anyone who isn't a vampire feel worried for their jugulars. But all this architecture wasn't at the expense of function. The home contains all the crafting stations you'll ever need, a trophy room fit for a vampire lord, and even a complete children's room for the youngbloods. What makes Bloodchill Manor so high up on this list is the fact that it feels like a proper castle-style home. All areas are separated by rooms and joined by a main hallway, which might be a first for Skyrim homes. Combine this with an amazing introduction quest and unique architecture, and you have the quintessential player home for ne'er-do-wells. Tundra Homestead. If Bloodchill Manor is the quintessential player home for evil characters, then Tundra Homestead is the best home for the rest of us. At a humble 7,500 gold, this countryside homestead is only slightly more expensive than a fully furnished breeze home. But that extra 1,000 gold or so goes a long way. The homestead has virtually every crafting station in the game, including a bakery, a beehive, and even a garden to grow vegetables of your choosing. Inside, the home looks and feels like the breeze home's older, cooler brother. The custom furniture is tastefully placed to give everything a slight aura of luxury without ruining the cozy homestead vibe. And despite its quaint size, the house doesn't skimp on utility. The homestead comes complete with a children's bedroom, an entire trophy room, and even places to store your Dragon Priest masks and bugs in jars. It also helps that it's located almost dead center on the map and near a stable, making it perfectly viable as a main house in survival mode. So, as far as high-quality homes go, Tundra Homestead is about as good as it gets. Golden Hills Plantation. I know what you're asking. If the Tundra Homestead is the perfect player home, then what could possibly top it? The answer to that would be Golden Hills Plantation. This once-abandoned home looks identical to the village traders that are copy-pasted across the map. It has no unique style or assets, and has a color scheme duller than Starfield's main questline. So why in the hell does it top the list? The answer is simple. Gold. Lots and lots of gold. Unlike other homes whose unique features are mostly cosmetic, Golden Hills Plantation lives up to its name and allows you to plant, grow and sell up to 3 crops of your choosing. This might sound like a minor addition, but plant the right crop and you can earn thousands of gold per day from farming weeds and mushrooms alone. However, if you take the path of the alchemist and plant ingredients for expensive potions, you could see yourself making upwards of 1,000 gold each day. The house itself is nothing special. Utilitarian is the best word I can use to describe it, but given that no matter your architectural preference, whether or not you're playing survival mode, or whoever you're trying to roleplay as, anyone will find Golden Hills extremely useful. And for that reason alone, Golden Hills Plantation tops this list.
Subscribe to Fall Damage, you milk drinker.